Sveiki atvykę į What's Next Talks, pokalbių tinklalaidės, kurių tikslas sukurti ateities, arba gal net būtų teisingiau sakyti dabarties kūrybinių industrijų žemėlapį. Mano vardas Zivile ir aš noriu Jūs pakviesti nerti ir kartu sužinoti kuo daugiau apie naujausias pasaulinės tendencijas ir inovacijas, kurios neabejotinai turės didžiulį poveikį ne tik kūrybinėm industrijoms, bet ir kiekvienam iš mūsų. Galbūt su kai kuriais iš Jūsų buvome susitikę What's Next konferencijoje, tačiau nuo šiol mes susitiksime ne kartą per metus, tačiau nuolat internetinėje erdvėje. Turėsime daug pokalbių, įkvėptų kūrybingų ir inovatyvių žmonių. Čia kalbėsime apie ateities temas, susijusias su kultūra ir kūrybiškumu. Šią pirmąją seriją pradėsime savo pirmąjį sezoną, kuriame pristatysiu 3 epizodus, kuriuose aptarsime esminės inovacijas, be kurių išmanymo mes neturime jokių šansų pirmauti šiame taip greitai besikeičiančiame pasaulyje. Taip, Web3, meta visata ir dirbtinis intelektas. O taip pat man garbė bus pristatyti labai ypatingą epizodą su daugybė apdovanojimų pelniusios kampanijos Backup Ukraine, kuri ir yra grįsta Web3 ir dirbtinio intelekto principais, kūrėjais. Na, o dabar kartu nerkime į šias džiunglės ir pradėkime nuo pačių pagrindų. Man, kaip tikiuosi ir daugeliu iš Jūsų, labai smalsu, kokios tos Web3 galimybės ir kokia jo meteoriško kilimo priežastis. Web3 yra interneto evoliucija, realiai keičianti visą žaidimą. Kai valdžia grįžta žmonėms, blockchain ir decentralizuotos programos padeda sukurti atviresnį ir decentralizuotą internetą, o galimybės čia atrodo yra neribotos. Pavyzdžiui, naudodami Web3 mes galime labiau kontroliuoti savo duomenis ir sąveiką internete, o naudodami blockchain technologiją mes galime prisidėti prie skaidrumo, kovoti su sukčiavimu, dirbti daug išmaniau ir saugiau. Nekantrauju kartu su Jumis ištirti, kaip Web3 gali suteikti kūrėjams galimybę gauti pajamų iš savo darbo tiesiogiai, be jokių tarpininkų. Kas yra tas Web3? Kuo jis skiriasi nuo savo pirmtakų Web1 ir Web2? Kaip galime panaudoti blockchain technologiją savo naudai? Kam priklausys mūsų kuriamas ir vartojamas turinys internete ateityje? Kaip galite uždirbti kurdami turinį? Ir aišku, kokiagi ta Web3 atnešamų pokyčių nauda kūrėjams? Kaip matote, turiu daug klausimų. Todėl be galo džiaugiuosi ir didžiuojuosi, kad šiems klausimams atsakyti ir į temą įsigilinti mums padės šiuose vandenyse plaukiantis labai kūrybiški ir inovatyvūs protai iš daugybę įvairių tarptautinių apdovanojimų gavusios Vice Media kūrybinės agentūros Virtue. Jie pasidalins savo žiniomis ir patirtimi šiomis temomis, o juos kalbins mano nuostabi partnerė Monika, kuri ves interviu iš Londono studijos. Taigi, nieko daugiau nelaukdami, kelkimės į studiją Londone.
Hi, this is Virtue, agency powered by Vice, and my name is Monika. I'm going to be talking to a bunch of interesting people from creative and marketing world here at our offices in London. And today I have our global executive creative director, Morten, with us. And I'm going to chat to him about all things Web3. Morten, hi.
Hey.
So you are leading our innovations team globally, and for those who are completely green, can you tell what Web3 is?
I think besides for being probably the most talked about word in 2021 and 22 as well, like there is both Web3 and of course then there's the metaverse. It's sort of like in the same family. The difference is basically when you're talking about the metaverse, you're talking about worlds, experience, and most of these things that's mostly game related. And when we're talking about Web3, it's something that's connected to a blockchain and basically the use of blockchain technology. So But again, it's combined because a metaverse can also be built on a blockchain, which makes it Web3. So I don't know if I confused everybody there, but that's basically the essence of what it is.
And how is it different from Web1 or Web2, as we heard about web spoken in this way? What makes it different?
So basically the difference is that with Web1, that's basically back when we got the foundation of the internet and everybody got access to actually write an email or send an email. Where Web2 is when we got social media and sort of like people were able to create a post or create content for the internet without actually having too many skills. Because back in the days in Web1, you have to sort of be pretty skilled to code a website. With Web2, everybody could produce content. With Web3, now everybody can own content, and I think that's the biggest shift that we saw. Because
I guess anything that you create, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Meta, whatever you call it now, it's theirs, right?
Yes.
You don't own it.
Exactly. It's like a little bit, if you went and bought the website yourname.com, you would basically don't own it, like someone else would own it. And sort of like Web3 allows it because it's now put on a blockchain that's peer-to-peer distributed, and it doesn't sit with a company. It means that you can actually claim a piece of the internet. So that's the huge difference about it. Like now we can use blockchain technology to write and prove who owns what and why on the internet.
So what is the big reason for the rise of Web3?
So basically it all comes down to creator economy. So everything that we have produced on the internet so far, since we don't own it, it's basically other companies who makes a profit from whatever we have created. So think of it as Facebook. Every time you create content for Facebook, their platform gains more traffic, and sort of like advertisers put in more money because there's more eyeballs. But like you as a content creator would never gain anything from that effort that you've been creating the content for, right? So basically with Web3, because you can take ownership of your content and you can also in some way manage where that content is going to go, it means that you can actually earn from that piece of content. So if you want to sell your content, instead all the money goes to you instead of a corporation in that sense. So it's just looking at what happened with 2.0 and social media, that if you are creating a YouTube channel, the average sort of salary over a year would be less than 50 cents. Right. And I think if you are a content creator and you're creating an NFT project, most of the profits, you can be successful, you can be not successful, but most of the profit, no matter what happens, would go to you as a creator. So that's why we're really seeing an uprise in this technology, and especially within art and music, because for the first time you can actually get more out of what you create instead of a company.
Could you give an example of that new creator economy?
Yes, I think especially we just touched upon it within music. I think it's one of the most interesting sort of spaces where this new creative economy is really taking off. I think as maybe a lot of people have realized, a lot of new artist names are having a breakthrough on TikTok. And sort of TikTok is basically the only place where young people find music to go to Spotify to basically find the music and listen to it on a playlist. They even have sort of hundreds of TikTok playlists in there, sort of that they're curating directly from TikTok. And I think the old sort of system of big major labels sort of acquiring artists when they see them on TikTok to put them on this list to get sort of this shared economy of wealth that's gonna come out of all the plays on Spotify. That's the system that we're now seeing change when artists on TikTok, instead of going with a major label, start to release their music as an NFT, and therefore they can have their fans purchasing into the music. So again, they don't have to get the crumbs of what the major labels are gonna give them after sort of they got their share of the big pie of Spotify, but they can basically get everything that they sell.
That's a huge power shift, right? From kind of major labels to the creators,
yes.
In effect. And do you think they're worried? They must be worried.
I think so, yes and no. I think that's the reason why they're picking up so many new artists. And I think if you're looking at some of the major labels, the list of names they have now that they're representing is sort of endless, because so many people is now having a platform on these type of social media platforms like TikTok, of course. But I think again, it's a gamble also as a young artist, because how do you create an economy around your own piece of music if you need to sort of come up with the right strategy of how to make that earning? Because of course, if you sell one track to one fan, of course that needs to be a high number before you can earn the same thing as sort of getting probably your share from Spotify. But again, if your music resonates with a large audience, what is a track from that artist actually worth? That's what at stake, and that's what people are looking into. How much can a Drake song actually be worth if it being put out on the free market for fans to acquire and sort of like claim as something that they own? I think it would be worth a lot. Yeah. And of course with a small artist, probably less, but again, it's another way of earning.
Do you see any trends coming out in 2023?
I think 2023 is when we're going to see AI going mainstream. I think it's going to have its NFT moment, what we saw in 21 for NFTs, where everybody was a little bit, what is it? And then suddenly a year later, like everybody was into it and understood what the importance of that aspect of it was. But like, I think we're seeing in 22 people really diving into AI and see what it could do, because we actually, for the first time, had a visualization of what AI is, because AI has been around for decades. It's just now that we're actually seeing a visualization of what AI can be used for, and it's an open invitation for everybody to play with. So platforms like Midjourney, DALL-E, Imagine, and so forth, like, has sort of like made everyone, or allowing everyone to actually co-create something out of pure imagination by prompting words and getting one of these exciting images out. I think this is just like the first step into opening up for a lot of people to actually see how they can use AI in a creative way. So I think AI is definitely going to be something that we're going to see multiple projects where we're inviting technology in to be a new colleague and co-create with us instead of like being just a gimmick.
Right. Talking about colleagues, I've heard that you're trying to replace your good friend and colleague Tao with an AI. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. So he's going to take some time off in the year 23, and sort of, I think he's going to be out for a month, and he's basically my copywriter partner. So of course, like, I'm going to miss that while he's gone, but I'm actually going to try to replace him with an AI and see if that's going to help my life. And already now we have been sort of like toying around with it, and it's actually doing a quite good job. So I'm super excited and not as fearful as I could be, sort of like losing him in my daily like workflow. But let's see. I think we've already been experimenting with AI in terms of building projects. During the World Cup in Qatar, we actually used AI to fool another AI. And I know it sounds a little bit complex, but basically the situation in Qatar during World Cup is that they acquired, I think, around 20,000 surveillance cameras.
Right.
And again, they're putting them up with the reason of safety, of course, but like, who knows where all that data is going to end up afterwards. And basically, from the moment you arrive in Qatar, they will be able to track you down 24/7. Again, when you're going to a football match, on the other hand, like, you are not looking probably as you would do if you went down the streets. It's like you're either sort of like in the color of your team, and someone even have face paint on.
Right.
So the idea that we had was sort of like using that face paint and making it sort of like contrasty enough and move the lines in the face with the paint to have the camera not being able to like match you with previous footage, and therefore being anonymous in the sense of.
So is it like a creative makeup in effect? You're putting someone like they do in movies, like you're trying to make someone look older, or like you're trying to make someone look like an animal?
It's much better than that. It's actually still sort of like, you still imagine it's still sort of like if the flag of England, you still have the red cross. We just add some black lines in the face as well. That's gonna make sort of like the AI have a hard time of actually see where the eyes are, or where the jawline are, or where the nose is. Because basically what an AI is doing is when it looks at a picture, it finds your eyes and it measures the distance between your eyes, the nose, because you are always dark underneath your nose because of the holes, your mouth and all that. All these measurements, it's putting through a database, and that will sort of like match you with yourself if you're already existing in that database. Right. As soon as you create something that sort of like basically screws those measurements, then it will not be able to sort of like put you into a match of its card, like of its data set already existing. So that's what we're basically doing. We're making these patterns that people can paint, and therefore can fool the data set that exists already in there.
Become anonymous in effect.
Yeah, and the way that we used AI to fool AI was basically we used one of those image sort of like AI creations where we basically typed in a lot of different words to create these masks, for instance, like English football fan wearing English shirts, sort of like dazzle, graphic, English flag, paint face, and all these words that you put behind each other, and then it came up with the designs. And these designs has been testing on surveillance UI and then or AI to sort of like see if we could fool it. And once it worked, that was what we are suggesting people can paint in their face.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Morten.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant to see you as always.
Yeah,
and we'll hope to chat soon.
We definitely will.
Thank you very much.
Na, mano mėlieji draugai, šiai dienai tai viskas. Pasimatysime kitame epizode, kur ir toliau nagrinėsime esminius šių dienų terminus. Kitoje serijoje kviesiu jūs kartu pasiaiškinti apie meta visatą. Šį žodį pastaraisiais metais girdime labai dažnai. Bet gal nedaugelis iš mūsų, arba bent jau aš, iki šiol į tai per daug nesigilinome, o tikrai verta. Jei norite prisijungti prie mūsų kelionės ir nuolat praturtinti save naujausiomis žiniomis apie ateities tendencijas, nepamirškite sekti mūsų tinklalaidžių. Labai ačiū, kad klausotės ir visada nepamirškite. Būkite geri, būkite kūrybingi ir smalsūs. What's next?